The moment I saw myself crying on YouTube, my real tears, my real fear, while hundreds of thousands of strangers laughed in the comments, something inside me cracked. The title was "Wife Finds Out I Crashed Her Car, Gone Emotional," and the thumbnail was my swollen, red face mid-sob. He used that as clickbait. And I didn't even know he'd posted it until my coworker showed me at lunch. "Sam, is this you?" she whispered, sliding her phone across the table like it was evidence. It was. Every second of it, me panicking in the driveway, shaking, begging him to tell me it wasn't real. He'd filmed my breakdown from 3 different angles, edited in fake engine smoke, and ended the video with a freeze frame of my face as sad music played. And then he'd monetized it. I sat there staring at the screen, my fork still in my hand, my mouth dry. I could hear his voice from the video, that exaggerated YouTube voice he used when the camera was on, deeper, louder, smugger. "She's so mad right now, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe." That was my husband. The man I'd trusted, loved, married. My name's Samantha Gray. I'm 33, from Texas. I'm the kind of person who waves at the mail carrier and still writes thank you notes by hand. I'm not built for spectacle. I like quiet mornings, iced coffee on the porch, and the smell of cinnamon rolls on Sunday. But somewhere along the way, my husband decided that our marriage wasn't a life, it was a content opportunity. Dylan wasn't always like this. When we met 6 years ago at a friend's barbecue, he was warm, funny, the kind of guy who could make anyone laugh. He wore flannel even in July, called me Sammy, and once drove an hour just to bring me soup when I had the flu. He proposed in the middle of a minor league baseball game, big screen, announcer, the whole thing. I was mortified, but he grinned so wide I said yes anyway. At the time, I thought the public grand gesture meant love. Now I realize it was just the first performance. The YouTube channel started small. Goofy clips of him jumping out from behind doors or pretending to forget my birthday. I laughed back then, even helped him film. It felt harmless. Silly. Something to keep his creative energy alive after he left his tech job. But then one video went viral, a prank where he pretended to throw away my wedding ring. 3 million views overnight. His subscriber count exploded. He told me we were building something together. Only, I didn't remember signing up to be the joke. It started with small embarrassments, fake spills, jump scares, hiding my keys before work. But the camera was always rolling, even when I didn't know it. Once, I found a tiny GoPro taped under the kitchen counter, pointing toward the stove. When I asked about it, he smirked. "It's for the vlog. Chill, babe. You're funny when you're mad." That night, I lay in bed next to him, my heart pounding. Funny when I'm mad. I hadn't realized my anger had an audience. The comments told me what he really thought of me. "She's so uptight. Bro, you need a cooler wife. Dump her, she's dead weight." He told me to ignore them. They don't mean anything. It's just the internet. But it did mean something, because every time they insulted me, he laughed. Every time I said, "Please don't post that," he said, "You're overreacting." Then came the shaving cream prank. I'd just come home from work, exhausted, my mascara smudged from the long day. I stepped into the shower, finally starting to relax, when the curtain ripped open. He sprayed me head to toe with shaving cream, screaming, "Snow day," while I shrieked and covered myself. He posted it. Cut the footage right before I slammed the door, so it looked like I was just being a buzzkill. It hit 500,000 views. When I confronted him, shaking, humiliated, he just grinned. "Come on, Sam. It's just a joke. You're so dramatic." That became his line for everything. "It's just a joke. It's not that deep. Relax." I used to believe that loving someone meant giving them grace. Now it felt like I was giving him permission to erase me. The first real fracture came when he uploaded our wedding video. Not the official one, he'd re-edited himself. Overlaid clown music. Added subtitles like when she realizes she's marrying a prankster. He even slowed my I do into a cartoonish echo. That was the moment something in me shifted. I read the comments. Does she even smile? She looks like she's about to file for divorce already. She married up. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the screen until my chest felt hollow. Then I turned to him and said, very quietly, "That was my dad walking me down the aisle, Dylan." You turned him into a punchline. He laughed. You take everything so personally. People love that video. I wanted to scream, but all that came out was a whisper. Do you love that video? He didn't answer. Just looked back at his laptop and said, "You're ruining my workflow." That night, I lay awake listening to him snore, and for the first time I felt nothing. No affection. No pity. Just a strange, detached curiosity, like I was living with a stranger who'd borrowed my husband's face. The next morning, I opened his YouTube channel. I don't even know why. Maybe to see if it was all in my head. It wasn't. There were dozens of videos featuring me, things I didn't even know had been filmed. Me crying over a bad day at work. Me dancing in the kitchen in pajamas. Me sleep-talking. He'd titled one, "Caught my wife talking trash in her sleep." Another, "Wife's reaction to losing a family member." That one made my blood run cold. It was from the night my grandmother died. I'd found out through a phone call, sitting on the couch, my hand over my mouth trying to hold it together. He'd filmed me crying, then uploaded it. 4 views. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just thoughtlessness. This was cruelty disguised as comedy. When he got home that night, I was waiting. My laptop open, the video playing in silence. He froze in the doorway. "Oh," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "That one's old. Delete it." My voice didn't shake, which surprised me. "Now." He sighed, like I was being exhausting. "You don't understand how the algorithm works, Sam. It's doing great numbers. I can't just. You filmed me crying over my grandmother." He waved his hand. "You're missing the point. It's not about you. People just like seeing raw reactions. It's what sells." I stared at him. "I'm your wife. Not your content." He rolled his eyes and turned away. "It's just a joke." There it was again, the sentence that had become a weapon. And I realized in that moment, he genuinely believed it. That his laughter protected him from accountability. That as long as he said it was a joke, he could do anything. I didn't argue. I just stood there quietly, nodding. Because deep down, something inside me had gone very still. Later that night, he went live on his channel, another stream of funny husband moments. I watched from the hallway as he told his chat how his wife gets moody when she's not the star of the show. The comments filled with laughing emojis. He saw me in the doorway and smirked. "Hey babe, say hi to chat." I turned and walked upstairs. He posted the clip that night under the title "Wife Gives Me the Silent Treatment After I Prank Her." And the next morning, it had 600,000 views. That was the first time I watched one of his videos all the way through, from start to finish. My face frozen mid-breath, eyes full of tears I didn't even remember crying. I closed my laptop and whispered to no one. "You just posted the wrong woman's story." Because in that moment, I knew he'd made his last upload with me in it. He just didn't know it yet. I didn't go with him to the Creator Summit in LA. He booked 2 passes without asking, just assumed I'd tag along and hold the camera between panel sessions like always, smiling politely while he introduced me as the wife behind the scenes. When I told him I wouldn't be going, I did it while unloading groceries, calm and quiet, the way you say you're out of milk, not like you're drawing a line in the sand. He looked up from his phone with a half laugh, eyebrows lifted like he thought I was bluffing. "You serious? You love LA." "I don't," I said. You just never asked. He rolled his eyes and went back to his phone. That was Dylan in a nutshell, confident to the point of blindness, convinced the world would rearrange itself to keep him comfortable. He left 2 days later in his favorite hoodie and sunglasses, his camera clipped to his backpack strap. I didn't kiss him goodbye, didn't text him while he boarded. He didn't notice. Or maybe he noticed, but didn't care. Either way, I watched him roll his suitcase out the front door, humming, and felt the air shift behind him like a room finally exhaling. He posted a story from the airport with a caption that made my stomach twist. Headed to LA to make some real content. That word, real, hit different now. It meant footage he didn't ask for, emotions he didn't earn, pieces of me he'd sold to strangers for 30-second laughs. Still, I said nothing. I just muted his account and placed my phone face down on the table, then sat in the silence of our home and waited for it to teach me something. But silence isn't always peaceful. Sometimes it echoes with all the things you couldn't say out loud. The next morning, I drove to work in a hoodie and sunglasses, hoping to go unnoticed, and still ended up cornered by a woman in the office parking lot. She looked vaguely familiar, and before I could ask how we knew each other, she grinned and said, "Oh my God, you're the wife. I love your husband's channel, that one video where you cried over your car. Hilarious." I smiled the way women are taught to smile when they're uncomfortable but don't want to escalate. She kept going. "You're such a good sport. I'd lose it if my man did that to me. You must be, like, so chill in real life." I don't remember what I said to her. Something polite. Something easy. But I remember what I thought, clear as day: you don't know me. You only know the version of me that he wants you to laugh at. I got into my car, locked the door, and sat still until the air in my lungs came back. That was the moment I stopped feeling embarrassed and started feeling angry. Dylan had built an entire career on the assumption that I would never push back. His entire brand was balancing on the idea that I would keep showing up, keep forgiving, keep playing the long-suffering straight woman to his camera-ready chaos. But that day in the parking lot, I realized I had more power than he knew, because the truth was, his fans didn't come for him. They came for the reaction. My face. My heartbreak. My humiliation. Without that, his whole empire was just a guy yelling into a lens. That same afternoon, I had lunch with Clara, a former coworker who'd moved into brand partnerships at a mid-sized agency downtown. She used to adore Dylan's content, thought he was hilarious, told me all the time that we made the perfect creator couple. But when we sat down at the cafe and she saw my face, something shifted in her expression. She didn't say anything at first. Just reached across the table, squeezed my hand, and let me start the conversation. "Did you know he posted footage of me crying about my grandma?" I asked, staring at the rim of my iced tea. "Used it as B-roll in a top 5 overreactions video." Clara's jaw tightened. "I did see that," she said. "I didn't know the context. I thought maybe I gave him permission?" I finished for her. "No. I didn't." She exhaled and looked down at her phone. "Sam, not to freak you out, but depending on how he's filming and uploading, there are brand standards he might be violating. Consent, dignity clauses, reputational risk, most companies take that stuff seriously now. Especially since that family vlog scandal last year." I blinked. "There are clauses?" "Most sponsorship contracts have them buried somewhere in the fine print. Brands don't want to be associated with creators who humiliate people, especially spouses, minors, or anyone who didn't sign a release." She paused. "Has Dylan ever had you sign anything?" I laughed under my breath. "He told me I didn't need to. Said I was his wife, what's his is mine." Clara didn't laugh. "That's not how contracts work. Or marriage. And honestly, some of the brands he's partnered with? I know their PR teams. If they saw what he's posted, and how often you're in it, they'd pull out immediately." I sat back, heart pounding. The idea hadn't even occurred to me. I'd been so focused on how to protect myself, I hadn't realized there might be a way to flip the spotlight, not with drama, not with rage, but with receipts. I looked up. Would you help me understand who to talk to? Clara didn't hesitate. Yes. But only if that's what you want. No pressure. And you don't owe me an explanation. I gave her a long, tired smile. I want him to understand that he built something on sand. That just because I smiled on camera doesn't mean I was ever okay. The next morning, I started quietly unspooling his empire. I went back through years of footage, saved direct links, and took screenshots of every video featuring me without consent. I didn't even have to dig hard, he'd made it easy, organizing everything into playlists: wife reacts, Sam loses it, marriage fails. I found timestamps where he whispered to the camera before scaring me in the shower, where he laughed while I cried, where he bragged about how raw my emotions were. Each one felt like a small betrayal, and each one went into a spreadsheet. Meanwhile, I changed how I moved through the world. I stopped wearing the sweatshirts he bought me with his channel logo on them. I started going into the office again, smiling at people I'd avoided for months. I told coworkers I was just taking time to focus on myself. No one asked questions. People are good at pretending not to see pain when it's packaged neatly. Every so often, I'd get a text from Dylan. Updates from LA. New connections. Exciting offers. He was riding high, meeting other YouTubers, filming collabs, even teasing a new side project. He had no idea what I was doing. No clue that while he chased attention, I was quietly building something stronger, proof. Then, without warning, I got an email. It was from a brand rep at Payback, one of his newer sponsors. The subject line was feedback confirmation, partner content. It was clearly a mistake. The rep had CC'd me by accident, probably because one of Dylan's brand contracts still had my name from when I helped him set up his LLC last year. My stomach flipped as I read the thread. They'd been reviewing one of his recent uploads. The video where he made it look like I'd broken his favorite camera, except it was staged, and I didn't even know I was being filmed. The rep flagged ongoing concerns with subject consent, especially related to emotional distress. They requested a written statement confirming that all participants had given informed approval. I read that email 3 times. Then I saved it. That night, Dylan got home from LA. I heard the key turn, the door open, the same exaggerated voice he always used when he thought someone was filming. "Honey, I'm home." But this time, no one laughed. The house was quiet. I was sitting at the kitchen table, typing with calm hands, a folder open beside me. He stepped into the doorway and grinned. "What, no welcome parade?" I turned in my chair, looked at him for a long moment, then smiled. "Welcome back." He dropped his bag, came over, and kissed my cheek. "You wouldn't believe the networking this weekend. Everyone wants to do something together. I'm finally getting noticed." I closed my laptop gently and gestured to the table. Speaking of being noticed, someone from Payback emailed me by mistake. His smile faltered just slightly. "Oh? They flagged one of your videos. Asked if I'd signed off on it." He stood still, then scratched the back of his neck. "Yeah, they just need that for legal. It's standard. But I never signed anything. For any of it." There was a silence between us, thick and humming. He laughed once, sharp, nervous. "Sam, it's just a formality." "Is it?" He hesitated. "What's the big deal? You're in a couple videos." "I'm in over 100, I said calmly. "You made a brand off me, Dylan. Off my tears. Off my trust. You don't think that's a big deal?" His smile was gone now. "You're being overdramatic." I stood up slowly, meeting his eyes. "You keep saying that. But I think you forgot, I was always the reason people clicked. And now I'm not playing along. He crossed his arms, trying to recover some confidence. You're bluffing. I reached into the folder and laid a single sheet of paper on the table. Just a list of video links, ones I'd already reported to sponsors, along with a brief note about consent. He didn't touch it. He didn't speak. I stepped back and gave him one final look, not angry, not broken. Just done. Enjoy the spotlight, Dylan. He narrowed his eyes. Enjoy what? I smiled, soft and even. While it lasts. I didn't notice right away that he'd changed the thumbnails, not until Clara texted me a screenshot of one. His face plastered across the frame, eyes wide in mock panic, the text screaming, "My wife left me?" The truth. In the corner was a blurred photo of me, looking away from the camera, obviously mid-conversation, obviously not meant to be captured. I didn't even remember when he took that picture. Maybe at a barbecue or the gas station or in our own kitchen. It didn't matter. He had turned my silence into a storyline. Again. I clicked through to the video, watched the first 2 minutes, and felt something inside me twist. He was sitting in our living room, same couch we used to binge terrible reality shows on, trying to look solemn. "Hey guys," he said, voice soft, almost whispery. "This isn't the kind of video I ever wanted to make, but I've always promised to be real with you. Lately, things with Sam have been complicated." His eyes blinked slowly, like he was trying to summon a tear. "She's going through some stuff. I'm doing my best to give her space." That was the moment I realized, he wasn't just spiraling. He was rebranding. I should have seen it coming. The man who filmed me having a panic attack and called it raw content wasn't about to go down without twisting the story first. But watching him sit there, calm, composed, pretending to be the supportive husband, made my jaw clench. This wasn't fear. It wasn't desperation. It was strategy. He was trying to control the narrative before it left his hands. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was scared, but because I was tempted. There was a version of this where I packed a bag and left, disappeared into silence and let him burn himself out like a dying fire. But then I thought about every girl like Tessa, every brand rep who got duped, every viewer who commented "she's so dramatic" under a video that showed me breaking down. And I knew I couldn't leave the job half-finished. The next day, Dylan tried to act normal. He made eggs, asked if I wanted coffee, even offered to film a Q&A together to clear the air. I told him I had errands to run. He nodded like it didn't bother him, but I caught the twitch in his jaw as I walked away. He was unraveling. Not all at once, but enough. When I got to the office, I pulled up the email from our lawyer, not Clara, but the one I'd quietly retained through Clara's connection. She had already drafted a formal cease and desist letter, citing the unauthorized use of my image and voice in over 70 videos, plus emotional distress and contract violations. All it needed was my signature. I hovered over the document, mouse trembling. I wasn't scared of Dylan. I was scared of the moment after. The moment when it would all be real. When there'd be no walking it back, no pretending I could still play the quiet wife in the background. Then I remembered how it felt, standing in the grocery store parking lot while a stranger laughed at my grief. I clicked sign. That afternoon, Clara messaged me, "He posted a story. You might want to see it before it disappears." I opened Instagram. Dylan was in the back seat of an Uber, camera angled just right to show off his branded hoodie. "Guys, just wanted to say, no bad blood. Sam's taking time and I respect that. She's an amazing woman. We're working through it privately, so please don't attack anyone. Love you all." He even winked at the end. My hand shook. Not with anger. With focus. There was something surgical about the rage I felt now, sharp and precise. I took a screenshot, archived it, and added it to the shared folder my lawyer had access to. The folder already had 36 files, deleted tweets, timestamps of pranks, copies of takedown notices from sponsors. Each one a brick in the wall closing in on him. Still, I had to be careful. Dylan had started noticing things. He asked if I'd touched his laptop, said it logged him out of a brand dashboard he swore was saved. I told him I hadn't. He stared at me for a second too long. Another night, he asked me if Clara had said anything weird lately. I feel like she's avoiding me, he said, spooning peanut butter into his protein shake. She used to reply to my emails in, like, an hour. Now? Radio silence. Maybe she's busy, I said. She's always busy. But she's also strategic. He paused, narrowing his eyes. You haven't talked to her, have you? Not really. He didn't believe me. But he couldn't prove anything. A few days later, he announced he'd scheduled an emergency livestream, a state of the channel address, he called it. He paced the living room all morning, muttering about transparency, legacy, and loyalty. He wanted to get ahead of the rumors. I sat in the hallway, just out of view, listening to him rehearse lines like, "We've all made mistakes, and what matters is how we grow from them." He still thought this was about PR. About damage control. He didn't realize he was standing in a house of cards, and the wind was already blowing. When the livestream went live, the viewer count shot up fast, over 12,000 in the first 5 minutes. His fans flooded the chat, asking where I was, what had happened, whether I was okay. He tried to joke at first. Said I was off-grid, doing yoga, or something. But the comments didn't let up. They weren't laughing anymore. Then something remarkable happened. A user named @StopTheCycle dropped a message that echoed like a gong through the feed. Why did you monetize your wife's grief? The chat exploded. Hundreds of replies. Screenshots. Clips. Someone posted the exact timestamp of the video where I sobbed after my grandmother's funeral. Another pulled up an old Reddit thread accusing him of staging emotional breakdowns. The live chat became a graveyard of receipts, and he didn't know how to claw his way out. He stuttered through a response, said I'd given him permission, that it was all in good fun, that I'd laughed afterward. But the tone had shifted. The audience smelled blood. I didn't say a word. I was upstairs, watching it unfold with my laptop open, a fresh email draft addressed to his final, and highest-paying, sponsor, Ridgevale Media. Attached were 5 video links, a timeline of deleted footage, and the legal language his contract violated. I hit send. The next morning, he was already on the phone when I walked into the kitchen. His voice was tight, frantic. They're pulling out. All of them. No, I don't know why. I'm clean, okay? This is all, it's a smear campaign. He turned and saw me standing there. Something in his face cracked. What did you do? He asked. I shrugged. You said it yourself. You're clean. His voice dropped to a whisper. You don't understand what you've done. I built everything for us. That money, that audience, it was for you, too. No, I said. It was on me. Not for me. He stared like he didn't recognize me. And maybe he didn't. He was still looking for the girl who said it's okay when he scared her awake with a foghorn and posted it online. The girl who let him caption her panic attack as wife goes nuclear. She wasn't here anymore. That afternoon, he went live again, desperate now, the polish gone, no hoodie or script or filters. Just a man unraveling in real time. Guys, I don't know what's happening, he pleaded. People are saying stuff that isn't true. I've never done anything without Sam being cool with it. She's my wife. I love her. His voice broke. But the comments were already turning against him. You didn't love her, you filmed her suffering. Accountability isn't a cancellation. You did this to yourself. The view count dropped like a rock. I watched from the couch as he lowered his head, defeated, and whispered, I don't know how to fix this. He didn't know that 20 minutes earlier, Ridgevale Media had issued a public statement. We have terminated all partnerships with Dylan Gray, effective immediately, due to serious violations of our ethics policy and content standards. I refreshed his channel. Every monetized video was gone. The comment sections were locked. He still posted the next day, a shaky vlog filmed in his car, titled Starting Over. No music. No intro. Just him, trying to fake strength. I'm gonna bounce back, he said. Real ones stay. Haters leave. The video got 47 views. I shut my laptop and went for a walk. The air was cold. Clean. I didn't look back. The morning Dylan got the cease and desist, he was live streaming from the kitchen, holding his phone up while fake casually sipping coffee from a mug that said haters fuel. His voice had that upbeat, artificially calm tone he always used when trying to convince people he wasn't unraveling. So yeah, he said, grinning into the camera, people are gonna say what they're gonna say. But at the end of the day, you guys know me. You've seen the real me. You've watched our journey. He paused, glanced off camera like he was being deep. It's just weird how quick people are to forget everything you gave them. That's when the envelope slid into frame. I didn't interrupt him. I simply placed it beside the cutting board, nodded once, and walked off screen. His voice faltered just slightly, like someone who realized the room had tilted under his feet. But he kept going. Anyway, he said, blinking fast, yeah. That's all I wanted to say. He ended the stream 2 minutes later. He didn't open the envelope right away. Not until I left the house and returned an hour later, just in time to hear a drawer slam and a string of curses, loud, panicked, fraying at the edges. I walked into the hallway and found him gripping the letter with both hands, jaw tight, chest heaving like he'd just run a mile. You lawyered up? He hissed, holding the document like it might burn him. You're suing me? I'm enforcing my rights, I said. You gave me no other option. You could have come to me. Talk to me like an adult. Not this. I folded my arms. I did come to you. 4 years. Every time I asked you not to film something, every time I told you I was uncomfortable, every time you promised, it won't happen again. And then it did. Again. And again. You didn't want an adult conversation. You wanted a silent partner. He started pacing, muttering about betrayal, timing, how this made him look disloyal right after he posted that healing video. I've been telling people we're working it out. I literally posted that I love you. That's your mistake, I said quietly. You keep confusing performance with truth. His hands flew to his head. You don't get it. This is my livelihood. If I lose this channel, I lose everything. You already lost me, I said. And you turned that into content. He stared at me for a long time, eyes wide. You were always fine with it. You let me post. You even helped edit. I nodded. Until I wasn't. And then you did it anyway. His silence cracked into something closer to desperation. We can fix this. Look, I'll delete every video with you in it. I'll post an apology. You can write it, even. Make it sound legal. I'll do a whole I messed up arc. You know people love that. We'll spin it. That's when I realized he still didn't understand. He thought this was a negotiation. A script adjustment. He didn't see that the show was over, and he wasn't the one behind the camera anymore. I shook my head. No spin. No comeback. No redemption arc. But they'll forget, he said. People always do. They forget everything if you feed them a new story. Not this time, I said. Because this time I told it first. He blinked. What? I reached into my tote and pulled out the printed magazine, glossy cover, bold title, and a photo of me, full page, mid-laugh, hands wrapped around a coffee mug at my community center office. The headline read, "When the joke stops being funny, one woman's fight to reclaim her voice." I'd written the piece myself. Clara pitched it. A women's interest site picked it up, then syndicated it. It wasn't salacious. It wasn't a takedown. It was just the truth, about emotional consent, digital boundaries, and the cost of being turned into content. And I didn't name him. Not once. But everyone knew who I meant. Dylan snatched the magazine from my hands, scanning the text like he could find a legal hole to crawl through. "You published this? Are you serious? This is libel." "It's not," I said. Every line was fact-checked by the magazine's legal team. I was careful. His voice broke into a laugh, wild, cracked. "You think people care? You think some whiny think piece is going to destroy me?" "No," I said. "But the podcast episode that aired this morning might." His eyes snapped up. "There's a show called Offline Boundaries. It's niche, but growing. They had me on last week. Told the same story, answered questions, shared a few anonymized audio clips from your outtakes folder, the ones you thought you deleted but forgot were backed up to the cloud. It dropped at midnight. They tagged all your past sponsors." Dylan's face paled like I'd opened a trapdoor under his feet. I stepped closer. "And here's the twist you didn't see coming. I own the trademark now. To your catchphrase." His mouth opened, but no words came out. "I filed 6 months ago," I said. "Just a placeholder move at the time. But once your sponsors started jumping ship, I updated the filing to include digital merch. Shirts. Mugs. Hoodies. It went through last week. You can't sell your own phrase without licensing it from me." He stumbled back a step. "I sent the paperwork to your merch supplier this morning. They've already removed everything from your store." There it was, the final collapse. Not loud. Not explosive. Just quiet ruin, unfolding like a bad script no one bothered to rewrite. He didn't scream. Didn't rage. He just sat down slowly on the couch, hands dangling between his knees, the envelope still clutched in one hand, the magazine in the other. "You really planned all this," he said. I sat across from him. "I didn't plan to. But you trained me well. Watching you spin narratives, pull strings, manipulate views, eventually, I learned how to do it, too. I just used it to tell the truth." He didn't look up. I left the house that night. No ceremony. Just a suitcase and a signed lease. I moved into a small apartment with street noise, warm lights, and no ring lights mounted in the corners. For the first time in years, I made dinner without worrying about what it looked like on camera. I called my sister without wondering if our call was being recorded. I laughed, loudly, and nobody wrote "wife lost it" in the comments. 2 weeks later, I was standing in line at the pharmacy when I heard it. A voice behind me said, "Wait, weren't you married to that guy? The prank YouTuber?" I turned. The girl looked young, maybe early 20s. Her friend leaned in, squinting. "No way, is that her?" I smiled politely. I was. The first girl hesitated. "I listened to your podcast." "That episode?" It hit hard. My ex used to pull stuff like that. "You were so calm." I thanked her and turned back toward the counter. As I stepped away, I heard her friend say under her breath, "He tried to post a reaction video, but it only had, like, 40 views. I think he took it down." And just like that, I knew it was over. Not the pain. That came and went. Healing's not linear, or cinematic. But the grip he had on the narrative, that was gone. For good. Weeks passed. Then a month. I started teaching again, small writing classes for women looking to reclaim their voice online. Some days we talked about structure, grammar, storytelling. Other days we talked about boundaries, control, and what it means to be visible without giving yourself away. One night after class, I sat alone in my apartment with a cup of tea, scrolling through old saved files. I clicked open the earliest clip from Dylan's channel, the first time he ever filmed me just for fun. I watched myself on screen, smiling, unsure, laughing too loud. I paused the video. Then I deleted it. Not out of anger. Not out of pain. But because I didn't need proof anymore. The truth had already done its work. He thought he made me the punchline. But I turned it into a story, one that ended on my terms.